In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, God is one. Amen. Well, good morning to Penelope and Bev. Good morning, both of you. It's a beautiful, warm day today. Really lovely, actually. Not too hot. It's going to get up to about 25, 26 degrees. Yesterday it got to about 32 degrees, I think, in Lincoln as a whole. And in certain spots it is rather warmer than that. But yeah, lovely to have the change in weather and not feel frozen to the bone, as normally happens in this country. But there we are. Helia, good morning. Nice to see you there as well. Hope you're having a good day where you are. I did notice that in certain parts of the country it is pretty chilly. And they're going to have rain and thunderstorms and other things. I think we had thunder yesterday at some point. Good morning, Joan. I was thinking about you earlier on, about 20 minutes ago, and thinking back to this beautiful cake that you made for a little boy called Raphael. Lovely blue cake with like a sort of summary scene of like an English fete on top of the cake, and then over the top of it there was bunting. It looked very English sort of scene, that little cake. Nice little boy called Raphael. God bless him. His first birthday. Gary Dewey, good morning. God bless you. Andrea, good morning also. Hope things are going well for you. All of you are nice. Circus scene, was it? Aha. I must look more carefully next time. It looked like had it been an English fete with a lion, that might have been more exciting. Good morning, Mariana. It's lovely to see you back in this island. She's been away in Romania to St. Gabriel, my goodness me. Complete with wings, I hope. From Wales with rain on its way at 2 p.m. Oh, Rob. Oh, no. Suzanne, good morning. God bless you. Thank you for the vegetables which Matthew and I have been processing. There are plenty there to keep us, I think, very well fed for some time. Thanks very much indeed for that. Really appreciate it. So today we're going to be looking at Acts chapter 16, verses 11 through 15. Not very much there, but I think we need to stop there, because if we don't, we'll get into another story which goes on for quite a long time. So rather than begin it and have a cliffhanger like Batman and Robin or Superman hanging off the edge of the cliff, it is best to get on with it. So here we go. We're dealing roughly AD 4950, somewhere around about that. So about 20 years or so, maybe as much as 30 years after the resurrection. Chapter 16, verse 11. Therefore, sailing from Troas, we ran a straight course to Samothrace, and the next day came to Neapolis, and from there to Philippi, which is the foremost city of that part of Macedonia, a colony. And we were staying in that city for some days. And on the Sabbath day, we went out of the city to the riverside, where prayer was customarily made. And we sat down and spoke to the women who met there. Now a certain woman named Lydia heard us, and she was a seller of purple from the city of Thyatira, who worshipped God. The Lord opened her heart to heed the things spoken by Paul, and when she and her household were baptized, she begged us, saying, "If you have judged me to be faithful to the Lord, come to my house and stay." So she persuaded us. Good morning, Ahmed. Right, so it starts off with the word therefore. What? Therefore what? Well, we have to go back to the previous paragraph. Now, after he had seen the vision of a Macedonian pleading with him to come and help, we sought to go to Macedonia, concluding the Lord had called us to preach the gospel to them. Therefore, and it carries on from there. So they feel strongly they have seen this vision, and now they need to go to Macedonia, northern Greece, we'd say now, around Thessalonica and places like that, Thessaloniki. Therefore, now the therefore makes sense. Sailing from Troas, we ran a straight course to Samothrace or Samothraki, and the next day came to Neapolis. Okay, so that's enough to get on with for the moment. So they're responding to this vision of a pleading Macedonian, and we there are Paul, Silas, and Luke, all of them setting off together. And they go to this island of Samothraki or Samothrace, and it says there they sailed a straight course. It's not a huge distance actually, but they weren't taking, if you go to Lincoln here to the bus stop, you can get to where I live out in Birchwood by either the number 6 or the number 9 bus. I'm not the right person really to ask about this because I haven't climbed on a bus in my life. Well, I have, but only when somebody else has been showing me what to do and sitting there terrified of being eaten by cannibals. Be that as it may be, these two buses. The one is the number 6, and that pretty well goes straight to the Birchwood shopping centre, stopping hither and thither on the way, but all in a straight line. And the number 9, on the other hand, goes hither and thither, and nothing like a straight line, and takes another 20 minutes longer. So they have caught the straight bus, as it were, the fast train from to Samothrace. So they are eager to get there, and they're paid more money to do that. So they haven't stopped off at every little island on the way, they've gone straight there. And then from there, they stay the night, and it's clear they don't really want to stay very long. You might say, well, why not? Why did they sit around a bit in Samothrace and Samothraki and preach the gospel with intent there? Well, part of the reason is because it's a not extremely inhabited island. Even now, there are only about, there are fewer than 3,000 people there. Something around about 2,500 people live there. And it's very rugged. It's a volcanic island. And if you look at it from the sea, which you can do on Google Earth, you'll see that even now it looks like a volcano, typical upside down V shape. And it is mainly made of basalt and granite, and as a result, it's not all that fertile. Actually, I rather like the look of it. I think I'd quite like to go and live there. Not very many people, nice little Mediterranean island, some little black beaches around the place, nice rocky shoreline, plenty of fish, lots of things to look at in the sea, beautiful olive groves, mountainous vegetation. I think that'd be really very interesting indeed. Anyway, it's volcanic, basalt and granite. So back then, hardly anybody lived there. So let's just spend one night there, and they go on to Neapolis. Neapolis obviously means new town, which, just in case you're interested, I mean, there are lots of new towns around England, but that's what it means, new town. Now, Naples also comes from the word Neapolis. And so Naples was also one time new town. We don't really think about it now as being new town. Anyway, Neapolis was a seaport of some importance. So you can imagine all the ships and other things taking place there. And only about, 40, 50, 60 years before, it was the site of the place where Brutus and Cassius, if you're interested in your Roman history, hung out when they were fighting against Mark Antony. They went and had a battle at Philippi, which we'll come on to before very long. And Cassius thought that Brutus had been overcome and slain, so he committed suicide. And actually, it was more or less a sort of stalemate at the end of that battle. And then later on, Mark Antony, obviously, as you'll know, beat Brutus, who then committed suicide. All these people killing themselves, not the best way of making your army feel good about you. Anyway, Neapolis, new town, was quite an important place. And from there, you could take the fast road to Philippi, which is where they were heading. They were really wanting, of course, to get to Thessalonica. Anyway, they head off towards Philippi. Verse 12, and from there to Philippi, which is the foremost city of that part of Macedonia, a colony, and we're staying in that city for some days. Well, there's some interesting things about Philippi. It says there it's a major city. Actually, there were several major cities in that area, of which Philippi was one. So it makes it sound as it's the capital of the area. But it's, rather like you might say Lincoln is the capital of Lincolnshire. But we also have Boston, which is an important place from which the heretical Pilgrim Fathers set off for America. And we also have Scunthorpe, which is where Frank lives nearby. And one of the things that Frank can see that I miss is the way that the furnaces in Scunthorpe are opened up every evening at 6 o'clock, and the sky above is bright red. It's an extraordinary sight and something I used to look forward to seeing. Hurry back upstairs from Vespers at night and go and look out of my front windows where Frank's son has got his office, and see Scunthorpe glowing red, at least the clouds above Scunthorpe glowing red. Fantastic sight. Extraordinary people from Scunthorpe, very brave, courageous folk. They say men of steel because they make steel, and that's the motto of the Scunthorpe Football Club. But actually, there is steel in the people of Scunthorpe itself. They're extraordinary. Anyway, nobody likes Scunthorpe. Don't know why. It's actually quite a beautiful little town. Well, more than little. It's quite a big town. So, like that. So Philippi is not the capital, but it's one of them, like, Scunthorpe or Boston or somewhere like that. Now, the really interesting thing is, why would they want to go to Philippi? Well, they're heading off towards Thessalonica, and they want to get there as quickly as they can and safely as well. I'm not sure why they didn't go in by sea the whole route, but from Philippi they can pick up what is the equivalent of the A1 motorway, which was the Via Egnatia. So the Via Egnatia was a big, well-made, beautiful Roman road, 6 meters wide, surfaced with slabs or with gravel, and in some places with compacted sand. And it ran all the way from Neapolis to the west coast of what is now Albania. And from there you could take a ship for the short hop across the Adriatic and pick up the Appian Way, the Via Appia, which would then take you to Rome. So it really was like the M1. In case you don't live in England or Britain, it means motorway, and 1 means the first. So the M1 or the M5 or M4 or one of those big motorways zipping across the country. The Romans have built it so they get from here to there very quickly, and presumably that's exactly what they want to do there as well. It was nearly 700 miles long. That's a long way. So that's about, well over 1,000 kilometers anyway. A big, important trunk road going through the Roman Empire from Byzantium, which is on the opposite shore of what became Istanbul, in the end, Byzantium, all the way to, if you pick up the ferry, to Brindisi in Italy, and then connect with the Via Appia to Rome. So anywhere along that road will make a fantastic mission center. It's a little bit like stopping off at the local, motorway service station and staying there a while in the Holiday Inn or somewhere, and thinking lots of people are going to go past here, we will missionize them. I'm not sure they're actually intending to do any mission there, but they did, maybe by accident. They took the opportunity when it came. They're going to stay there for some days. Had it been me, I'd been staying there for a very long time because I'd have been terribly, terribly, terribly seasick. Verse 13. On the Sabbath day, we went out of the city to the riverside where prayer was customarily made, and we sat down and spoke to the women who met there. It's quite interesting, the Greek here doesn't give the idea that prayer was being made there, but it does give the idea that this was a place of prayer. Right, they talk about dancing on the head of needles, Father Philip. What are you talking about? Well, they're going to somewhere where prayer was customarily made. So it could be just somewhere down by the river where they met and they prayed. Or it could be a meeting house where people met in order to pray. We don't know. Because that idea of prayer there either means praying or place of prayer. There could be either of those. I think it's very likely that these Christian Jews were looking for a synagogue. There was no synagogue, which means there were fewer than 10 male Jewish people there. So instead of going to the synagogue, they went to this place where they could pray, and on the Sabbath. And therefore, whatever Jewish people happened to be there would turn up. And it looks as if it was women who turned up. So there's no minyan, so it's not a sort of typical Jewish prayer service that they'd have had. They couldn't have done that. Okay, so probably in the structure where the women came to pray. And this means they were speaking to women. And it says nothing whatever about men having turned up. So these Jewish men turn up and they pray and they speak to the women who are in that area. You only need to go back into the story about the woman at the well of Samaria to see what a big thing this is. How much have they changed? At one point, the disciples would not talk to single women. Now they're talking to single women. Moreover, they're talking to women who might even be Gentiles. We're not sure. So there's a big change in attitude in the disciples about who is actually going to get this mission opportunity. Okay? So it's big. They sit down. You remember that Moses sat down in order to give the tables of the law. It is a sitting down in authority. They sat in authority with these women and they explained the gospel to them. Now a certain woman, verse 14, named Lydia, heard us. Melengeth and I used to have a good friend called Lydia, and there was also Daphne. She was a great person and was the first person, a native of Lincolnshire, the first native of Lincolnshire since well before the Reformation, since about 1054, to be baptized into the Orthodox Church. And she, completely of her own accord, as far as I'm aware, chose the name Lydia, who was the first European to be baptized. And our Lydia was the first Lincolnshireite to be baptized. She was really lovely. Somewhat given to being accident prone. I remember having a new carpet put down in my house, and even now Frank could go and inspect the place, and Lydia had been doing some ironing, even though I told her not to, and she put the iron down on the carpet and burnt a hole in it, and the carpet had been laid that morning. Which was great, actually. It meant I didn't need to worry about it too much after that. Anyway, this certain woman came, Lydia, heard us. She was a seller of purple from the city of Thyatira who worshipped God, and the Lord opened her heart to heed these things spoken by Paul. So, this Lydia, she hears, and actually means that she paid attention to. Just in here, just going on, really paid attention. And she is a seller of purple from the city of Thyatira. A seller of purple. So she is a tradeswoman. And it's interesting that it is she that they concentrate on and not her husband, which, taking into account that those ties, means that she had no husband. Whether he had curled up his toes and gone the way of all flesh, or whether she had never got married, or what had happened to him, or whether she got married later, all of these things we know nothing about. But she is clearly a woman of means. She has a business, she'd be selling purple, that's dye from a certain little snail that is boiled up, crushed and boiled up, and from that you get purple dye. It grows in the Mediterranean, little tiny snails actually. Rather like cochineal is the carapace of beetles that have been crushed up. So this purple dye, it's called porphyria, is quite a process and sold for a huge amount of money. The cloth that is made with the purple dye was then used by people of very high status. So Roman senators, the Roman emperor, folk along those sorts of lines. So she was selling something of huge value. But she is not aristocratic. She might well be wealthy, but rather like in Britain, you can be very wealthy but not aristocratic, not of the top social echelons. She was like that, well off, but she was, purple dye from snails. You can look it up, porphyria. I think the snail's called porphyria something or other. Maybe tentaculata, or imagining that was something else. Anyway, so she was well off, but not aristocratic. Not unlike St. Paul, actually. Maker of tents, so he's a tradesman, but he is a Roman citizen, so he was able to study the scriptures, go to the synagogue school, train to be a rabbi, go to sit at the feet of Gamaliel, which meant he didn't have to work. So he came from a well-off family, but is not aristocratic. Okay? Whereas we think that it's quite possible Barnabas and Mark were quite aristocratic. And maybe John as well, but we're not certain about that. Anyway, here we go. I've got a frog in my throat. I've got hay fever. So I've taken tablets and things. My eyes are still like boiled eggs. And I feel as I've got not just one frog in my throat, but a whole pond full. So Solar Purple, from the city of Thyatira, after which the Greek archdiocese in this country is named, rather bizarrely, who worshipped God. So she was somebody rather who was a true believer in God, and in that she worshipped God, it's possible that she is a Gentile convert to Judaism. The Lord opened her heart to heed the things spoken by Paul. That is the really important bit. So this is a lady who is capable of listening. She probably has converted once already, from being a Gentile pagan to being a Gentile Jewish believer in Judaism, a worshipper of God. Okay, verse 15, and this is really quite interesting. And when she and her household were baptized, she begged us, saying, "If you have judged me to be faithful to the Lord, come to my house and stay." So she persuaded us. All sorts of interesting things going on in here, aren't there? So, firstly, she and all her household. Now that means everybody who belonged to her household. So in the old days, even in my youth, you would have the people who were the owners of the house, say my parents, and then the children, so my two brothers and I, and my sister, and then any other people who were living within that household or part and parcel of that household. So anybody who was a permanent resident, so my grandfather might be, or my grandmother might be later on, and then people who lived on site. And in our case, we had quite a number of people who also lived on site. And all this household would then have been baptized by her. So it probably means all her servants, the people who worked in her business, her shopkeepers, the people who did the distilling, all those folk, that all of them marched off down to the river and they all get baptized in the river. Quite a tricky thing, actually, doing that. And so that's what happens there. Then, next, she begs them, okay? She doesn't invite them. She begs them, please come and stay with me. And they say, well, no, we really shouldn't. And she then says something quite important. If you have judged me to be faithful to the Lord, come to my house and stay. So what does this mean? First of all, it means that she immediately offered hospitality. Now, I can't rub this in more strongly than I'm going to. It's not possible to be a Christian without offering hospitality and even prevailing upon people to accept your hospitality. So I'm not just inviting you to come, but I'm telling you, I'm expecting you to come now. Or I'm telling you, I'm expecting you to come on the 15th. Or I'm telling you, I want you to come and stay. Please come and stay. In England, if you say, you must come and stay sometime, it means I have no intention of ever inviting you. But this is the sort of thing saying, I've got my diary, when are you coming? Okay? And then you know that the people really mean it. If you have judged me to be faithful to the Lord. So, this is not if you think you're going to be very comfortable staying in my house, but this. If you deem me to be faithful to the Lord, that is, if you think that the Lord already dwells in me, then you can come and stay in my house. Okay? If the Lord dwells with her, then the apostles can dwell with her. And you can see then why it is that hospitality is so important. If the Lord dwells in me, then it's good for you to come and dwell with me too. If the Lord dwells in you, then it's good for me to come and dwell with you too. And this is really what it is that is being offered by Lydia. And when they said that, they said, okay, well, if the Lord goes and lives with her already, then what's stop us from going living with her too? Of course, this would cause immense scandal. What? These Jewish folk going to stay in the house of a single woman? Good heavens. And probably a Gentile convert at that. What? Scandalized. And indeed, I have been, people have suggested that my life is scandalous in the past because I had people staying with me and they put 1 and 1 together and make 22 and they don't see what is actually happening. Okay? So the Lord dwells with her, the apostles can dwell with her too. Okay? There we are. That's where we're going to end today. Let's just see if anybody has been asking any questions or doing anything like that. Woohoo! So Michelle, good morning, and Frank, good morning. Orthodox Christian Education, which is another name for Melengeth, saying good morning to her father and me and to everybody else, and she will listen while she goes to sleep. Poor old Melengeth, she'll say less of the old. Poor Melengeth works at night time, so I hope you sleep well, Melengeth. God bless you and keep you. It was lovely to see you on Saturday. I thought that was very good, by the way, on Saturday. Really impressed. Who else says C.J. Novs? That's an interesting name. Good morning from the United States. Good morning to you. Simon, bonjour. Chemo Buddies, I also saw you on Saturday. God bless you and keep you. Joan, yes, purple dye from sales. Have you looked that up yet? If you don't, I shall look it up and I shall put it in a little thing underneath here. Simon, it's not I who live, but Christ who lives in me. Yes, indeed, that's what St. Paul said. And recognizing this in St. Lydia, she did the same thing. Harry, good morning to you. Nice to see you there. Right, okie dokie. Well, before Harry starts telling us dreadful jokes, remember please to pray for those for whom we're praying. And we're still praying for Sam, and for Constantine, and for Andrei, and for Andreas, who died recently. We're praying for Nicholas, and Nicoletta, and Daniel, all of whom are very poorly. We're praying for Helena, whose son and husband were Andrei and Constantine. So she is newly made a widow and bereaved of her son. Pray for Joseph and Elizabeth, and for Judy, and for Simon. That's Dino's Simon. Okay, pray for them. We can also pray for Jean. Jean is very elderly, and she has decided that she's had enough of life, and she's asked her family to pray for her, that the Lord enables her to die. Joan, rather than, yeah. So Jean, pray for Jean, that she dies early. She's elderly, she's losing her mind, and she's not happy, and she's had a great life and produced lovely children. But anyway, that's what she wants us to pray for. So there we are. We also pray for Nicholas, who is really suffering terribly now. And an end to his suffering, please, rather than for his death. But the two might be synonymous. Okay? Bev, God bless you. Yeah. And we're also praying for Leal. She started chemo yesterday, feeling poorly already. Yes, she will do. Yeah, and keep her in my prayers too. And for Sam and his family. Okay, was that the 40 days then, Bev? It's amazingly quick the way that time has gone past. God bless you all. Okay, right, tomorrow, God willing, we shall meet again. And tomorrow, if you're in the vicinity, we will have a Divine Liturgy in the evening at 6 o'clock for the Dormition of the Theotokos. Okay, be as good as gold, and enjoy the day. I hope it's nice and warm for all of you, including those in places like the far reaches of Wales and other places like that, where I think you're going to be suffering from thunderstorms and rain later on today. Okay? Right, God bless you. 39 days on Sunday. Okay. Pray also for cure for cancer. Amen. And pray also for, and it's easy to say, peace in the Middle East and in Russia and Ukraine. These things are terrible. There is no such thing as a good war. They're all of them destructive and appalling. We think about the way that we miss just one member of our families. Imagine if whole societies are being uprooted and destroyed. Okay, God bless you and keep you. Bye-bye. Until tomorrow.